Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name's Laura Bruno and I'm an intuitive astrologer. Today we're going to talk about the Sabian symbols. I know that that can be kind of intimidating for people. It's enough to kind of try to keep track of all the planets and the 12 signs of the zodiac. For a lot of people, that's enough, right? But the Sabian symbols really provide a lot of added nuance and insight into your natal chart or into various astrological events. Those of you who follow my blog or have read my new moon and full moon posts know that especially for those events, I like to include the Sabian symbol just because I find that it provides so much more information than just what you would do with kind of a more generic reading of, oh, this full moon's in Aries, so therefore it's about forging ahead, it's about starting something new, it's about passion. Yes, it is probably about all of those things, but if you look up the Sabian symbol for that particular degree that the full moon occurs in, you'll find that you get a lot more detail of what might happen. And I've been tracking this for years now, and it's like kind of spooky how a lot of times if I do a reading and I really unpack the Sabian symbol and what other, smaller bodies or trans-Neptunian objects, what other things are interacting with the new moon or the full moon, you get such a complete picture of what's happening. And then it's just wild to see those exact kinds of things play out. It really is a language, and Dane Rudhyar used to say astrology is a language, and for those who understand the language, the sky speaks to them. So what we're talking about today with the Sabian symbols is kind of like more of an advanced course in the language of astrology, but it's accessible to all of us because thanks to Dane Rudhyar, who wrote this book, An Astrological Mandala, we can actually look up the degree of any point in our chart or any point in the sky for an astrological event, and we can just read what he had to say and unpack in a much deeper way what's going on. So most people that know about Sabian symbols know about Dane Rudhyar because he was actually the most famous astrologer to use them, and he was the person who popularized their use. Sorry. He was not, however, the person who discovered them. I actually kind of love this story. So Mark Edmund Jones and Elsie Wheeler did a joint project to bring these Sabian symbols out to the world. Mark Edmund Jones was a spiritualist and an esoteric teacher, and Elsie Wheeler was an incredibly disabled, crippled by arthritis woman who was wheelchair bound and could not support herself. She became a student of Mark Edmund Jones and eventually became a medium, a very popular medium, and was able to support herself doing psychic work. I love that. That's kind of, in a weird way, how I got into doing psychic work. Was a bad car accident that took away my ability for a long while to do anything but psychic work. So I like stories where someone makes that kind of recovery. But in Elsie Wheeler's case, she did the psychic work, but she wanted to leave a bigger mark on the world. She felt like she was limited by what she could do in one-on-one sessions with people, and so she just had this ambition that she wanted to bring something important out into the world. Mark Edmund Jones, meanwhile, had this idea of, hey, we've got this circle, this natal wheel, 360 degrees, 12 signs times 30 degrees, 360 degrees. Let's have a symbol for each of those degrees. Let's just bring it out. And he wasn't sure who to use as the psychic, but he chose Elsie Wheeler because she really wasn't that well versed in astrology, and so he figured she would not be superimposing her own ideas of like, oh yeah, Pisces, it's the last sign in the zodiac, it's about the fish, it's about the, you know, she didn't have that vocabulary, and so he could just say to Pisces, and she would tell him what she saw, what image flashed across her brain, and he would just kind of scribble that down. So they did this very fast. They worked in 2-hour shifts, and eventually released this as a mimeograph in 1931, and then didn't really do much else with it for quite a while. What happened was Dane Rudhyar, who also knew them and who was an astrologer, he got really into these Sabian symbols, and he actually expanded on them. And so he was the one who popularized them. He wrote articles using them and showing how relevant they were, and eventually he wrote an astrological mandala, which really brought this out to the world. So I'm just going to use a quick example from my own chart, just because it's not confidential, right? I'm not betraying anyone's confidence by sharing this detail. So in my natal chart, my North Node, which is one of the destiny points in the chart, my North Node is in Capricorn, and it's in the 5th house. So these are things that you could just tell, boom, by like a quick look at a natal chart. Because my North Node is in Capricorn, there's an emphasis on career, there's an emphasis on leadership, really need to not be codependent with old relationships, need to not baby people. Also, I can't be a baby, like I had to grow up really fast when I was young. A lot of responsibility with a Capricorn North Node. With a 5th house North Node, there's an emphasis on the arts, there's an emphasis on creativity. There could be an emphasis on children in that house, except that with a Capricorn North Node, motherhood's usually not the thing for you. Oftentimes you'll have like a stepchild come into your life, which is what happened with me. But you can also have your books are your babies, or your career is your baby. So that's what you can tell from just a quick view of the natal chart. But here's an example of just how much deeper Dane Rudhyar takes this. So my North Node is at 8 degrees 5 minutes Capricorn, so we round up to 9 degrees. And the Sabian symbol that Elsie Wheeler channeled is an angel carrying a harp. Which I love, right? Pretty cool. But Dane Rudhyar takes that and then expands on it even more. So he always provides a keynote, and the keynote is the revelation of the spiritual meaning and purpose at the core of any life situation. That's pretty much what I do with intuitive life coaching and as an astrologer and a psychic reader. So the revelation of the spiritual meaning and purpose at the core of any life situation. And then he goes on to say, this picture simply says that heaven is within us. All we have to do is to be open and listen to the total harmony of life, a harmony in which we play a part that is necessary to the completeness and meaning of the whole. In order to do this, we have to surrender our separative ego consciousness and flow with the universal current, which to the religiously minded person is the will of God. This is the 4th symbol of the series. The technique it implies is that of attunement to the rhythm of universal life. Angels are to be considered personalizations of various aspects of this life and totally subservient to its rhythms and purposes. So I have to chuckle because I'm a Reiki master teacher, and so in this last paragraph by Dane Rudhyar for my North Node, my destiny, he has in bold capital letters attunement, and Reiki master teacher gives attunements. You give an attunement to initiate other students, so there's the Capricorn role of a teacher or a leader, and then attunement, it's right here in the Sabian symbol. And just this idea of heaven is within us, and tuning into universal life force energy, looking at your natal chart and explaining that, as above, so below, the heavens at the moment of our birth that impact us for the rest of our lives. And if we can look at our natal chart and learn to appreciate who we are, who we came here to be, and we have that love and appreciation for ourselves, it helps us to bring so much more out there to the world. So I love the Sabian symbols. I hope this made them a little less intimidating.